Have you? I mean, I know Peter chatted to you earlier, but that was more about your other work. We want to talk to you about you now, you know, the Danny Glover that's visiting South Africa for what, the 35th time?
About at least 35 times.
35
more than 35 times I've been here.
That's amazing.
And
you know what I loved is what you told me, that your first introduction to South Africa was through music.
Yes. I remember getting an album which was produced by Harry Belafonte, Mary McCabe singing Kilimanjaro. I remember Love Is Like Strawberries and so many other songs. And that was my first, introduction. And probably that was around 1965 or something like that. And then listening to Hugh Masekela, his first album, the Americanization of Ooga Booga, which is, and I think about 1966. And as students, we invited him to perform. 1969 was when I first met him. And Hugh and I have known each other. And then the other part of that is the other relationship I had was through the great work of the great South African playwright Ethel Fugard. I began doing his work in 1975, 1976.
That's fantastic.
So automatically in 75, that thrust me right in, by doing his work, thrust me right in the discourse and discussion about apartheid, doing his work. And certainly the two things about Fugard's work, because you learn the craft of acting through doing the work of great writers. And so you learn the craft of acting. So I had an opportunity to learn the craft of acting and also say what was important to me in the world, and also whose side in the world I was on.
Yeah, and you met Nelson Mandela, but funnily enough, you didn't meet him here. You met him in the States. Was that, you were saying, in 1990?
I met him on his very first visit in June in Boston.
Yeah.
There was a lunch for him at the Kennedy Library at June of 1990.
Oh, in 1990?
1990.
Goodness me,
This
okay.
is like almost 4 years before the election itself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing, an incredible man.
We
don't even need to talk about that. Hey, when you saw the movie coming out, it just dawned on me now, because I look at you and I see Madiba. Have you ever wanted to play him?
I did play him.
When did you play him?
I did a movie in
Yes, of course you did.
1986.
Yes.
We shot that in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
A young Nelson Mandela, we were talking about 1987 it came out, so we're talking about 26 years ago.
26 years ago you played him.
And no one had, because you could not in any way show his image or his speeches and everything, so no one had really heard or seen Madiba since about 1964.
Yeah.
And so it was such an honor. It was a production by HBO in the United States, and also I think Channel 4 in the UK as well.
That's amazing. I mean, it must have been quite a difficult role for you to study for. Quite a difficult role for, not knowing much about this man.
Well, I knew a great deal about him, and you look for everything you can when you're developing a character within the context of the story. And the first part of it certainly is that you make the words your own.
Yeah.
So his great speech on the dock before sentencing is not unlike Dr. King's speech on the March on Washington in 1963. There's elements of that, and I believe that they were my words.
Yeah.
And I think to be able to transpose those ideas as an actor is an important element of it, So not only they were not simply words that I was memorizing on the page, they were my words, and I took ownership of the words. Once you took ownership of the words, you take ownership of their relationship to you and your own sense of who you are as well.
Danny, I want to talk to you all day, and I can't because I'm looking at the clock. We end at 8 o'clock. We have music. We've got too much to do.
Okay.
But thank you for coming back, just to give us that tiny little snippet of who you are. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
All right,
we're going to take a break.